One of the most famous and iconic sculptures in the world is Michelangelo's David, a masterpiece of Italian Renaissance art. But do you know the story behind this stunning work of art? How did Michelangelo create it from a flawed and abandoned block of marble? What does it represent, and why is it so important for the history and culture of Florence? Watch today's video to find the answer to all of these questions. This masterpiece of Italian Renaissance sculpture was created from 1501 to 1504 by Michelangelo, a young artist who was only 26 years old when he started working on it. The David is a colossal marble statue that stands 5.17 meters or 17 feet tall and depicts the biblical hero David, who defeated the giant Goliath with a sling and a stone. The statue is currently displayed at the Galleria dell'Accademia in Florence, Italy, where it attracts millions of visitors every year. But how did Michelangelo create this masterpiece, and what does it represent? Let's find out. It is important to note that the story of David begins before Michelangelo's involvement. Thus, Donatello, who was another famous Florentine sculptor, had made the first of the series, a colossal figure of Joshua in terracotta, which was painted white to look like marble. However, the project was soon abandoned because it had to face certain technical and financial adversities. In 1464, another sculptor named Agostino di Duccio picked up the same project and began carving a large block of marble that had been quarried from Carrara, a town in Tuscany famous for its high-quality marble. Agostino had the intention of making a statue of David, but he was only able to rough out the legs, feet, and torso before he stopped working on it. The block of marble was then left unfinished and exposed to the elements for almost 40 years, until another sculptor named Antonio Rossellino tried to continue the work in 1475. However, he also gave up after a few months, claiming that the marble was too flawed and being for the Duke of Milan when he was given the offer. However, he declined it, saying that he had other projects to attend to. It was only after this that the committee turned to Michelangelo, who had already gained fame and reputation for his sculptures of Pieta and Madonna of Bruges. Michelangelo accepted the challenge and signed a contract on August 16, 1501, in which he agreed to finish the statue within 2 years for a fee of 400 florins. Michelangelo began working on the statue in September 1501 in a makeshift workshop near the Duomo. He decided to use the same block of marble that had been previously carved by Agostino and Rossellino, but he changed the pose and orientation of the figure. Instead of depicting David as a victorious hero after killing Goliath, which was seen as the customary in previous representations, Michelangelo chose to portray him as a tense and alert young man before the battle, holding a sling over his left shoulder and clutching a stone in his right hand. He also rotated the torso and head of the figure to create a more dynamic and expressive composition. This made the statue look more human. Michelangelo finally completed the carving of David in January 1504. He then polished and refined some areas of the surface, leaving others rough and unfinished, creating a sense of raw power and vitality. He also added some unconventional details such as the tree stump behind David's right leg, which served as both a functional support and a symbolic counterpoint to the figure's heroic masculinity. Michelangelo's finishing touches were masterful, transforming the statue from a mere block of marble into a living visual counterbalance to David's powerful physique. The tree stump is gnarled and twisted, suggesting a sense of age and wisdom. Its juxtaposition with David's youthful vigor creates a sense of tension and dynamism, suggesting that David is still learning and growing, but that he is destined for greatness. The next challenge that Michelangelo had to face was moving the statue from the workshop to its intended location on the roofline of the cathedral. The statue weighed more than 6 tons and was too large and fragile to be lifted by a crane or a pulley. It was no light feat after all. A special commission was formed that was to come up with the best possible way to transport the statue. The delegation included some of the most prominent artists and intellectuals of Florence, such as Leonardo da Vinci, Filippino Lippi, Pietro Perugino, Lorenzo de' Credi, and Giuliano da Sangallo. After much debate and consultation, the commission decided to move the statue along a specially designed wooden track that ran through the streets of Florence, from the workshop to the cathedral. The track was covered with sand and grease in order to reduce friction and prevent damage to the statue. The statue was also wrapped in ropes and padded with mattresses to protect it from shocks and vibrations. The operation took 4 days, from May 14th to May 18th, 1504, and more than 40 men were involved who pushed and pulled the statue with ropes and levers. It was moved at night to avoid crowds and traffic, and was accompanied by armed guards and a priest who blessed the statue and prayed for its safe journey and arrival. However, when the statue reached the cathedral, there was another problem to be faced. The commission realized that it was impossible to hoist the statue to the roofline without risking damage or destruction. They also realized that the statue was too beautiful and impressive to be hidden on top of the cathedral, where it would be barely visible from the ground. So they decided to find another location for the statue, where it could be admired by the public and serve as a symbol of Florence's pride and power. The commission considered several options, such as placing the statue in front of the Palazzo Vecchio, the town hall of Florence, or in front of the Loggia de' Lanzi, a public square near the Uffizi Gallery. They also asked for Michelangelo's opinion, who suggested that the statue should be placed in front of the entrance of the Duomo, facing towards Rome. However, after another round of debate and consultation, the commission finally agreed on placing the statue in front of the Palazzo della Signoria, also known as the Palazzo Vecchio, where it would replace a bronze David by Donatello. Since then, the statue has been widely admired and visited by people throughout the world. Influence can be seen in countless other works of art, from paintings and drawings to sculptures and architecture. The statue's timeless beauty and powerful symbolism have resonated with people from all walks of life for centuries, and it remains a source of inspiration for artists and audiences alike. Click on any of the 2 videos on the screen right now for more content.